When did I say I could buy? You could buy that?
Okay, so unlike other shows we've done, we actually have a topic for today. I'm really excited about this topic actually because it's been a Murray. Stop futzing with you.
I'm wondering if it's like, yeah,
No, it's fine. You sound
Okay.
great. You sound
Okay.
magical.
probably from this beer.
No, I hate you. Why is the ice cream on this front of the beer?
It's sure burps.
Oh, jeez.
I would drink that.
It's great. Okay, sorry, I derailed it already.
So, Batman and Robin have taken a vacation. They're not involved in this because Batman's too rich. So, this has bothered me on and off about hobbies. Is that you can have one hobby that's super cheap and one hobby that's super expensive. And as geeks and nerds, you kind of end up with a lot of hobbies. And
Yeah,
us three actually have very different circles that we fall into for hobbies.
extremely. Yeah.
Okay, so to get everyone on the same page, I'm going to read off a list of geek hobbies just so you can understand what all we're looking at. This is from number 20 to number 1. Puzzle games.
Oh, that's Shalisha though.
Yeah. And Rob and his escape games.
Oh yeah, and my sister-in-law like puzzles.
Oh,
she
really?
Absolutely loves them.
Comic book shops. Like going to comic book shops.
Oh, I don't know any of us who like that.
Nah.
Yeah. Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and who'd be into that? Weirdo.
Electronics and robotics. Murray. Cosplay.
Just because you can see a little robot in the lower corner of my hide yourself, robot.
I don't think any of us have ventured into the cosplay.
No.
Yeah.
I think Michelle has.
A little bit.
Gone.
Oh yeah, for Anime Con.
But I don't think that's a hobby of hers. Like you see people building stuff in 3D printing, and
yes,
like that's a hobby.
Yeah.
Non-fiction books, so people collecting mathematics books. My dad used to do that.
Oh,
our dads.
He used to collect books about advanced physics and how it affects calculus. Cartoons. So number 14 is cartoons.
So what about
that's
cartoons?
interesting.
Watching cartoons.
Oh. Huh.
Is that a hobby or just something people do? I guess
well, a hobby
that is what hobbies
you do
are.
To relax,
yeah,
right?
I guess so. Yeah.
So, watching anime.
Oh my goodness! I got to add something to my list now.
Warhammer 40K.
Oh yeah, that's big.
Strategy games. Trading card games.
Yeah.
Binge watching TV shows. Murray.
Yeah, but we were doing that before it was cool.
No, it's not as cool. No, this is a hobby.
Wait, why did it get cool? Did it get cool because of COVID?
It got cool because Murray could finally do it with someone. Not like that, but like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I like Marcel.
He had a captive audience now.
Yes.
Number 8 is Star Wars.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I
blame this on the Mandalorian. That became obsessive for a lot of people. Watching movies, like Michelle and my wife.
Yeah.
Watching movies is huge. I don't get it. I'm like,
yes, all day.
Yeah.
Movies are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Comic books. That's mine. That's my big one.
You think?
Pen and paper role-playing games. Rob.
Oh yeah. I fall in there. I fall in Dungeons and Dragons as well, but
board games. Now this one's interesting. Technology is number 3. So being a technophile.
You know,
basically.
it crossed my mind if that kind of thing was a hobby or not, and I sort of dismissed it. But I guess it really is.
I think when Fries was a thing.
when it was open.
We used to actually kind of gather around technology and talk and share, and so I think fictional books. So some people are really into Harry Potter or whatever. Number 1, playing video games.
Oh
wow!
I'm
I don't
so
know why
happy about that.
I don't know why I hadn't thought of that as a hobby, but yeah, I guess that's one of mine as well.
That's on my list.
Oh, good. It wasn't on mine.
So some of the others that are a little sadder were YouTube.
Oh boy, I think that's
Okay.
everyone's shameful hobby.
And then number 26 and number 28, Rob, are miniatures and model building.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad we're down there somewhere.
LARPing is number 30.
Okay.
And then number 32 and 33 are interesting. It's fixing computers and learning languages.
I thought of language at some point, and I was like, well, not for me really, but I came across some of my language books and was like, at one point, maybe I would have considered that.
And this is another Murray hobby, making lists.
Oh, well, I have to do that. Otherwise, I don't enjoy doing it.
But if I don't collect
do
comics.
If I don't do that, my brain just doesn't work.
And then some of the other more interesting ones was helping others, pets.
Oh,
man, if your pet's your hobby,
that's your mom's hobby.
Well, doesn't everyone?
I didn't say it was a good idea.
That's your mom's hobby.
It really is. He's not kidding.
All right, so I just wanted to kind of set the tone of what the scope is we're talking about. It's really anything that helps you to relax.
It's huge.
Okay.
Huge scope.
So should we start with the things we have in common, or just do it individually, or how do you guys want to tackle this?
Is it weird that outside of like we've been friends for a long time, and I weirdly can't think of what big hobbies we have in common.
Yeah.
Like video games, maybe
used to be
video games, very much so. I think we all enjoy Star Wars to an extent. I mean, obviously we sit here on a show about comics and kind of comic nerdy stuff, so we have that in common.
For me, it was gaming and comics, like superhero stuff. I wouldn't call it comics. I would call it superheroes.
Yeah. That's a good bucket.
But when I was thinking about this, I realized that we all have our bubble, and they kind of cross into each other, but not in some of the weird way. Like, I don't do the weird stuff Murray does with watching anime.
Prove it.
I set up a camera in your house last time.
Okay, you have enough proof.
But then we have similar hobbies around watching cartoons or enjoying cartoons. So we overlap some ways. I think also we take 3 very different attitudes towards hobbies. Like, Murray's very nostalgic about his hobbies. It's like his dad did this when he was growing up, or he grew up watching this, and now that's why he has this. Where, Rob, you're more about not finishing stuff. No, I'm kidding.
I wouldn't even have argued.
With your hobbies, you like to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Like, if it's too easy, you drop it. And that's what's happened with most of your Gundam stuff.
Yeah.
And with me, it's more obsessive. Yeah. I'm a completist, and I have to collect all the trading cards. Remember trading cards, Murray?
Oh, yes, I remember.
Kind of looped Murray into that trap.
Yeah, I mean, I had those trading cards at one point growing up, and then I kept them but fell out of it. And when you started, it was like I had never seen collections like that. It was like, this is amazing. Like just to complete one little set for me as a teenager was incredible. Not to collect all the cards that were ever printed in humanity's history.
It's what happens when you can just throw money at a problem.
Yeah, which you don't have as a teenager.
Right. All right. So yes, Rob, that was a very long way of me saying I completely agree with you.
Oh,
I don't even
okay.
remember what Rob asked, but I also agree.
Rob said that he has a hard time remembering what hobbies we have in common with each other.
That's right.
Although we've been friends for 25 years now.
I think it makes
Right.
tons of sense that there is some crossover, but we don't have the exact same hobbies.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up, right? We kind of drifted away from each other, and now I think for a good like 5 to 10 years or something, because Murray was living in another land. We decided
started
not to
it.
talk to him.
And then Marcel decided to live in all the other lands.
That's also true. The only one of us that has lived in another country.
All right.
Twice.
Twice. Well, yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess so. I guess
I was born somewhere else.
I guess you were born somewhere else.
Even I was confused by that.
Even technically, this is the other country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go to Mexico.
Does Murray have this wrong? All right, Rob, you want to kick us off and tell us what your hobbies are?
Yeah,
that
so
are identifiable. At least.
Okay, yeah. So,
and then we'll talk about kind of cost after we talk about the hobby. Yeah.
So I think, in given your list, I'm going to leave a few things out that I think are more common. Except for that I will, and had never thought about the fact that video game playing is a hobby. And for me, I'm not going to talk about the cost, but there is an investment as I tend to do PC gaming. And I'm not obsessive about keeping my PC up to date, but I don't want to get to a point where it's like, oh, a game's coming out and I want to play that, and my machine is not good enough. For it to be an enjoyable experience. So I guess that's probably one I spend the most time on. But
you do also enjoy couch play. Like
I enjoy it, but basically it almost never happens. You two are the ones I did couch play stuff with the most. Yeah, like what's funny, I say couch play, but I think the last thing we did was beat The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Which I played. And
not on the couch.
Yeah, not on a couch. I don't
sitting
know,
on the floor like idiots in front of Murray's couch
and eating tacos. It was a great day. But I think my other two and one more recent hobby. One is the one we've talked about probably the most on here, which is the Gundam building, the Gunpla or Gundam plastic model building is one that I got into probably when I was the earliest, probably 16, and then I took a break from it for a while because when I was 16 I didn't have any money, and then got back into it in my early 20s, and then once again didn't have money, and then got back into it in my early 30s and had too much money.
And now that problem is fixed.
And now I have the other problem where I have so many models that I don't have time for them. And then I think my more recent hobby, and I'm kind of enjoying, is 3D printing. So maybe that's more the technology side of it, but
I think
it's fun.
Electronics and robotics and that kind of side of it. I think the one big thing we have in common is that the way we were raised was around technology.
Yes.
And we were raised in very similar generations, and we were raised in front of the TV where cartoons were present.
Yes.
And it was the same cartoons. So I think when you look at our hobbies, like you look at Rob's hobbies, one's anime based, basically.
It is. Oh yeah, 100%. I got into it because of Gundam Wing on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, and the other one is technology based, right?
Yeah.
And you, Rob, you binge watch a lot.
I do. In fact, people wonder because they're like, because what I'll do is I'll play games and I'll have a show going on the other screen. And people are like, how do you do that? I'm like, well, the game is brainless, so I can soak in the TV show as I play. And they're like, I don't understand. They're like, when I watch a television show, I have to focus on the TV show or else I don't get anything out of it. And I'm like, I don't understand that.
Rob's trick is that he watches the same TV show 4 or 5 times.
I guess I should be ashamed, but I'm unashamed to say that I have seen all seasons of Parks and Recreation probably 20 times.
Wow.
Like just in passive watching. Like,
right.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that your new place doesn't have a TV, your new living quarters.
Honestly, it was by choice. It's just cuz it as much as it's just my brother and sister-in-law, it weirdly forces me to be social. And so we watch a lot of the same stuff and watch a lot of the same shows. And it's actually, honestly, it's a lot more fun.
I would say that is a problem with these hobbies, is that a lot of them are not multi-people hobbies. So it kind of pulls you away from being social, especially during this whole COVID thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's talk about cost. Can you give us an example of Gundam costs and all that?
I'll do Gundam cost. So it actually occurred to me right before this, and when you were switching like accounts, that there's more to Gundam than just the models, like anything from the tools. And actually, I have new tools that I haven't opened because I haven't needed them, but I buy backup tools because everyone online complains that like my nippers, these essentially they broke, and I'm like, they can break.
I
was like, man, I'm like, I should have backups in case they break. I've never broken one ever. I don't know what people are doing. I'm like you're buying like metal models, like what's going on? Anyways, like even in the tools and like getting started, there's like this weird variance in price.
Yeah.
Like something like this, which is fairly basic, but actually this is even more complex
and important.
Not complex, but like it's an important tool. If you don't have one of these, I don't know how you're putting the models together.
You should ask me.
I used to. Like back when I was in my early 20s, I didn't have anything like this, and I was using like nail clippers,
right?
Because they had the soft the smooth edge, and that's the closest you could get.
You know, if you take the pieces, Rob, and you do this.
Oh yeah, it almost works. But anyways, like even then, like this is what's considered fairly entry grade, and I think these are about $20 to get in. But then there's something like on this end, and these are considered one of the best you can get, and this runs you like $60-$70 depending on like, and the difference is it gives you a cleaner cut. For the models,
Chinese writing on the content on the
it does,
packaging.
and that's how you can tell it's good. So it's weird. Like, yeah, they know they're the best ones, because let's see if it'll focus or not. Maybe not. Maybe. Anyway,
see a Rorschach test.
The brand the brand is God Hand.
Oh.
But I actually enjoy a lot of their tools. I have some of their files and stuff that are really good. So as far as the models, I looked for and I couldn't find. There's some that are in like the $5 to $7 range, and so a lot of like SD models. And they're kind of the SD stands for like super deformed, kind of a chibi cute version
of an SD model.
Yeah. But then you get into like, okay, I grabbed a few. Like this is
Marcel's the SD model of Marcel.
He's pretty much. Wait, super cute and chibi?
Oh yes.
So there's stuff like, I think the next step up is kind of like the high grade model. Oh, there's my ring light. High grade is pretty common. I think this is probably what a lot of people focus on in the hobby. They probably run anywhere from $20 to $25. And a lot of times that's people's limit. Like they buy that, and that is what they have for a month or 2 months. Like, and that's
that matches their skill level too.
Right. And it's pretty entry. They're a lot better in like a phrase that's used a lot is color separation. It used to be that the color separation wasn't very good, so there was a lot of stickers that made them the correct colors in certain areas. But now, I guess how it's been explained to me is that injection molding is a ton better than it used to be, and they're just able to make smaller parts. And
we used to call it a apartheid.
Oh.
Separation of colors.
There we go. Yes.
Murray wants to laugh so much.
I'll just move on. So the next grade up and what's funny, these are less popular than I thought, because I actually think these are one of my favorites, is the real grade. And what it does is they're a lot more complex. They're a lot more detailed. Probably in the 30, 35. I've actually seen them for 40, 45. Some of the bigger, more complex ones. Oh my gosh. Oh, believe me. When I was moving, I took a picture of my backlog of all my models, and I actually went in a couple of discords of people that do these models, and I said, hey, I'm showing a backlog picture, and people were like, oh, this is awesome, like, because people do it a lot. They're like, look at my backlog, and it'll be like 7 models. And I took it, and it just blew everyone away. They're like, holy crap. They're like, you have the heaven of backlogs. They're like, no one else's backlog has 3 perfect grades in it.
No one's as lame as you.
And so I was like, man, am I lame. So yeah, it's just, I have too much money. So there's that. The next step up,
Rob's gonna get robbed next week.
I am going to, is master grade. This is a newer one. All of these I've grabbed are fairly new, just for the sake of
saving face,
showing what's recent.
Not showing your 1985 kits.
I do have one, and it is was right over there. I cleaned up. These anywhere from 40 to 80. I've seen the more complex ones. I think this one's in the 50, 60 range.
And if they have accessories or whatever, it could go even higher than that. Yeah.
The bigger the kit, and more complex and more stuff.
You pay by the ounce, basically.
So
cost of gold.
Then there's the one that like people love, but just not many people are into because of the price break. I don't know why I'm carrying this up onto the desk. This is a perfect grade. It's worth mentioning that high grade and real grade are 1/144th scale. Master grade is almost always 1/100th scale, and perfect grade is 1/60th scale. I obviously knew those all off. So, I mean, this will be, 14, 15 inches tall if I ever build it.
Yeah, full-size Gundams are not human-sized.
Yes.
The human sits inside of them.
I probably spent spent $260 or so on this one. That's kind of my as far as spending on one thing inside like the Gundam building stuff, that's about the price where I'm like, okay, this is the cutoff for me.
200 or so.
Yeah, probably closer to 3, because like I said, even this is like 280. But they're out there. Like there's I don't think they call them grades anymore past this, but it's like mega size, and there's another one too, but it's
Murray
basically
sized.
It's like 1/40th scale and 1/12th scale. And like the 1/12th scale one is essentially a 5.5 foot tall model.
That's where your cutoff should be.
But that's where but that's where you get into like, I think for those people are paying upper 3,000.
Oof.
And it's just because they only make so many and then they stop.
There's also like
you gotta find them.
Plated Gundams.
Yeah, I have never gotten into the metal models, and there's quite a few of them, but they are, I don't know, people complain about them a lot.
It's one color, the whole thing.
Right.
It's like hard to tell what's going on.
But as far as that hobby, that's kind of my. I try to. Do you want me to talk about like what I try to limit myself to?
Yeah, talk about your monthly spend, like your average month.
So it varies quite a bit. It used to be that I was obsessive about getting almost every model that came out.
I understand that.
For a while they were redoing the old models from like 10, 15 years ago, and it was basically every model that came out was a updated version of a popular kit. And so I was buying almost every single one just because like, oh yeah, I want that one. Yeah, I want that one. They're finally getting back into like, they're doing some of the grunt kits and other stuff that I don't care about so much. So I would say my monthly spend, I probably buy one high grade a month. So probably $20. But my cap on each month that I kind of say, okay, like this is too much. And a lot of times the only times I'll buy multiple kits at once will be if there's a sale, which like Black Friday and Christmas sales slayed me on my Gundam budget. I think Black Friday and Christmas sales, I think I spent $600 or so on kits. But yeah, I think I generally cut it off at about 200 a month. If I end up spending that much, it's become rarer and rarer as I have enough to do, and I'm kind of like, I'm now more picky about them. They're, of course, now that I'm picky about them, they're re-releasing the Gundam Wing kits in new high grades. So the ones that got me into it are now releasing. So in fact, that's what the high grade I showed was. That's the newest Gundam Wing kit that they re-released. So I'm looking. I almost started building that last night. Then I knew I was going to use it for this video, and I decided to leave it alone.
It's not a bad price point.
Yeah, I think where it gets expensive, and it's where I've started to go, is airbrushing, paint.
Yes.
Having the correct tools. I watch a lot of videos on airbrushing technique and paint mixing. I have found a brand of paint that is actually made by a guy who got tired of not having paints he liked in the scene and decided to start his own like paint. And I love the paint. I decided to get a set and try it out. So I think I've bought like 3 or 4 full sets of the paint just to have them as backup. And then he did like a limited 200 run of like, they were called like the Halloween variants, but it was just different colors. And I'm like, oh yeah, I want different colors of the paint, obviously. So I have one of the limited 200 of that. But yeah, I think it's how much you want to spend and how much time you want to spend.
What's interesting to me is you don't spend that much.
No.
It's more time intensive.
Yep.
But you, without even thinking about it, talks about socializing around this thing and advanced functions, around it. So that kind of tells me that it's really an advanced hobby for you. You just don't have the time for it. And unfortunately, it's time intensive.
It's also a bit of a collection / hobby where you get to collect some of those things, which I think we all enjoy collecting to a certain extent, certain things.
Oh yeah.
But then now you have that library to pull from when you want to actually start doing the hobby.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's been kind of nice because I'll have an evening where I'm just like, oh, kind of a relaxed evening, or like my brother and sister-in-law, they go to bed a lot earlier than I do. They go to bed at a normal hour, and then I end up being up until like 1. And I'll generally build from. I found that I can just grab a kit, grab some of the simpler tools. I've gotten into a rhythm of just doing it for relaxing now.
The rhythm of the dance.
Yes, I'll like quick build a kit, and then put it all away. Just enough for it to be like, okay, I could paint this if I wanted at this point. So then I put it all away, and I'm like, if I feel like doing a custom paint job or painting this at some point, I will.
So here's what I find interesting about this.
It's getting me through my backlog.
Rob, do you keep all the boxes?
No.
Okay.
No. After it depends. If there is not a lot of extra accessory stuff with the kit, I've started using these plastic bins. I have one in here somewhere to sort the parts. I'm actually going to start using those for like storing the extra parts that come with kits. But no, the boxes are too big. Like it takes up way too much space to keep the boxes.
Murray's thinking, that's why you get a garage.
Well, I was thinking,
oh, my garage was full of boxes before.
That's like how my parents used to use their wine cellar in Monterey. You know, they'd have a total of 4 to 5 wines in a giant wine cellar. So what did they do when they were done with the wine? They put it back in the wine cellar. So it looked like,
so it looked like there was wine.
Yeah, so it looked like it was full of wine.
All right. Let's move on to the guy that keeps the box for everything.
Marcel.
Murray.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll be the guy that keeps a box for everything because I do until
until the warranty expires.
Either until I'll keep boxes for 2 reasons. One, if it's an item that I know can be resold, you know, or I'm going to be upgrading at some point. Usually it's consoles, or other things that are like that. But if it's like, you know, a vacuum cleaner or something, I'll just keep the box until, you know, the return period is up, and then the box goes.
It's really Murray's true hobby.
Is keeping building box forts.
It's collecting boxes. It's like, that vacuum cleaner's got a nice box.
I did used to like refrigerator boxes, but now I don't fit in them.
He's gonna buy bigger refrigerators. Rob's gonna start building a Gundam right now.
I could. I've been doing it while we've been on video before, but I'm not going to this time.
You bastard.
What's kind of interesting is, as I was thinking about what, you know, hobbies I might have, because first I was like, well, I might have a hobby or 2. And I kind of came up with like, you know, a handful after thinking about it. But the first one that hit me, which has been a hobby for a long time, is like photography and large format printing. Oh. So I've had a Sony Nex 6 since pretty much when it came out. It was the second or third, you know, Sony camera that was mirrorless, and I started building like a collection. Like, this is the Sony Nex 6, and you start to have a collection of things like the body and the frame.
No, okay, that is the Sony Nex 6. You don't start to have one.
The airbrush, air thing, other lenses, and you know, it kind of grows over time. This collection of things that you use for your camera, or like, you know, tripods, and then you upgrade your tripod because you find a better, you know, tripod, or smaller or lighter, or one that hooks on your bag or something.
Matt won't shut up about his tripod, so you just buy his tripod.
Yes. Yeah, just do that. I think Matt gave me this strap, actually. So
no, I would throw it away. It's probably
generous.
He used it so he'd shut up.
It's got COVID.
No. So like just an example of a hobby that instantly came to mind was photography, because it spanned from well before the Sony came out, you know, Olympus 30-30 zoom. I know you had that camera also at one point, Marcel. Mm-hmm. I think our parents got them for us separately, but somehow they were the same camera. And it, like, you know, this digital photography and then large format printing. I've had 3 or 4 generations of the Canon. Now the latest one I have is a Canon Pro 100, which is a 13 by 19 inch printer that does such high resolution prints you can't see dots in the ink. And if there's any kind of like
Murray's obsessed with dots
in ink
and TVs.
Oh yeah. If there's any kind of like flaw in the picture, you should go back and look at your original photo, and it'll actually be in the photo. It's like, that looks like a smudge or something, you know, and you look, it's like, oh, that was actually in the photo.
Let me use it a couple times. It won't be the case anymore. This is lick mark across the...
How come it looks like someone put a donut through here?
Good idea.
So like the photography thing and the large format printing thing sort of transformed into iPhone photography as that got better and easier to carry that around, and the Sony a little bit less. And then with the higher quality filming on the iPhone going to 1080p 60 and then 4K and then 4K 60, then 4K 60 HDR now, which is incredible. That sort of crossed over into like drone flying for me, which also started way back when there weren't GPS devices built into drones,
and they're all Star Wars drones.
and yeah, but yeah, and my first expensive drone is modeled after an X-wing, and it was a prototype that was built by this company that, you know, the goal was to build it, sell it to a toy company, and then the toy company down costs it and releases a toy, which did happen. And they released an Air Hogs version of like an X-wing that was, you know, $60 or something, and the prototype was like 1,000. And so you know, it started out with like drones that were really, really hard to fly, no GPS, just barely any stabilization, really small, you know, motors and really small propellers, all the way to like my latest Skydio 2 drone, which basically flies itself and, you know, can't
Thank
crash
goodness for
under
that.
most circumstances. Yeah. And so like those crossed over because of the photography element that drones eventually, you know, had built into them. So now I realize, whereas I used to fly drones for the thrill of flying, because I also liked RC stuff, you know, years ago. Now I fly drones to get the shot. I'll fly a drone if it's a beautiful sunset, or if it's, you know, great weather outside, or if we're traveling and we're near a beach or something. Like, I'll fly not just to fly, but to get a beautiful shot, beautiful photo, some nice footage.
That
So
explains why you flew it when I came over that one day, so that you could see me in your front yard. It was the beautiful shot. That you
Rob
knew you'd
holding
get.
Rob.
Yeah,
yes, it was like having a camera on a gigantic tripod over my house, just looking down at us.
They're called selfie sticks.
It was a gigantic selfie stick.
I have a different take on this, Murray.
Okay.
I think that out of the three of us, you are the technologist and the elitist. You have to have the best TV. You have to have the best sound system. You have to have the best drone flying around, the best vacuum cleaner, the best meat cutter.
Vacuum cleaner.
I think my twist on that for Murray. Oh wow, I haven't had that heater off in days, and like now I got so used to it, I was startled when it turned off. So
Rob hasn't actually moved from his chair.
I've been here. Like I can roll everywhere. Why would I move? I think my take on that is out of all of us, and actually I think it's just because I don't have the patience for it, and like Murray does, is the patience to know, okay, I want this thing. This is what I want it to do. I'm going to do my research and get the best one. What's funny is it's something that I wish I could do, but I don't have the patience, which is why I'll look at something, see like 3 good reviews for it, and not even look at anything else.
And be like,
this is the one.
Also, Murray's willing to wait.
Yes.
For the thing he wants, while the rest of us just buy the cheapest thing on the shelf. Also, Murray, while I believe you have interests, and your interests are definitely in photography, you collect. You just look right, like there's a stupid webcam behind you. Like you collect technology, and and you have very high standards for the technology that you collect.
Yeah, what's funny about that is, like I mentioned when you were listing hobbies, like I thought for a brief moment, like, oh, you know, technology's listed on there. I sort of thought about that, but then sort of dismissed it. But there definitely could be an argument for it, because it doesn't have to be the most expensive piece of technology. It just has to do the thing that it was designed to do well, regardless of the cost.
Right. Because the thing that does it the best isn't always the most expensive thing. Which is I think contrary to what some people believe.
I think your nostalgia kicks in a little bit, in that you want it to work as well as the thing you had worked.
If I had a previous one, yeah. Or if I
Yeah.
didn't, it should work in a way that I know is possible. And very rarely does a product come out that works better than I thought was possible. And actually, the Skydio 2 is one of those products.
Sure.
It's like,
Yeah.
I can't believe this works so well. And, I know a lot of the technology is out there that can do this because mobile computing has been so prevalent over the last few years. They can do a lot more processing on
Yeah.
device, but this is doing something that's, close to science fiction. Today. I mean, it really is. It's
It's
just
very
incredible.
clever. It's
And
very clever.
And so there's some things that are like that, and some other things that are like, well, this product and that product both have most of the same features, but this one is 3 times as much, and it has one feature
Mhm.
that all these other products should have, but they don't. And because they don't, this guy's charging 3 times the cost. So that's the feature that I'm looking for. Or sometimes this has a feature that they're touting that I just don't care about.
Sure.
And I'll go with the one that doesn't have that, and it's 3 times less expensive, and that's fine by me because it does everything it says it does, everything the designers designed it to do, and it does those things well. The tough part with product development is when they want it to do something so bad, and marketing gets their hands on it, and marketing pulls out these stories about things that it can do, and then after you use it, you realize, oh, now I see the story they're telling. It's like a twisted version of what you wanted to hear.
Consoles
doesn't
do
actually
that all the time.
Oh yeah,
it
that's
doesn't
a
actually
console
do
trick.
that thing. Yeah. And there's lots of IoT devices that are like that. So I am extremely picky, I guess.
Yeah,
is
I
a
don't
good
know that-
Yeah, but I
observation.
don't know I don't think that's a bad thing, and I actually don't know
Yeah.
that picky is the word I would use.
I knew that we had 2 different standards of technology. Like I've been a technologist, but I'll buy like random routers and mess with them, right? It's totally different.
Mhm.
We were
Yeah,
in
I get a lot of
Fry's-
my tech information about what works and what doesn't from you actually experimenting and being like, huh. And that's like another data point when it comes to
Yeah, sure.
building up your tech,
I remember standing in Fry's many years ago, and I don't remember very much, so this must mean something.
Yeah.
We were looking at, I think it was the first true HD TV, and you definitely get this from your dad, by the way. True HD TV, because he held on to that projection TV forever because nothing else was good enough. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, that looks great. Too bad it's $6,000. And you went like this. I can see pixels.
This thing's junk.
You shouldn't be able to see pixels from this close up.
Yeah.
And part of me wanted to fight it, and part of me just went, oh. But that has become your standard. It's a higher standard than the rest of us. But I really think that when you find objects like that, you collect them.
Yeah, I do definitely appreciate it. It's one of those things that I've always done since before my career, and now I lead a group of engineers that does product development, and we have that standard. It's like that has never broke my entire life, and so it must just be something built in.
Yeah, and your job is to design things that are custom fit for a custom role.
Yeah.
And so you're like the perfect person for it. And really, when your dad, was at Atari or whatever, that's kind of what he had to do too. He had to figure out how people were going to use something that the company told him to make that was probably going to be awful.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you implement the idea of a cartridge device when nothing has ever been built that you can yank the board out and put it back in and have it work twice?
Plug and play was not a thing.
I think they said the original cartridge was able to go in and out like 5 times before it failed.
Oh wow.
And they figured they figured out ways to like use certain metals and then coat them in a certain way that made it like 50 times, and that was their threshold. They were like, okay, good enough.
And if you want 60 times, you just blow in it.
Right, yeah. Just pour this goo in it. But yeah, I mean, I definitely have that. but it also means that I will buy weird things
Yeah.
that no one would buy and that the company's now discontinued because nobody bought it. And I think it's the greatest thing, ever, because it's like, wow, this is something no one else does. No one else could do. This company did it and it wasn't super expensive or whatever. And it's great. And other people
Yeah.
like, why is that even a product? And they move on and the company fails.
You had a way too long of a conversation with me about the in-ear buds that you liked and how the rubber was built in a certain way.
Yeah, the foam.
That you didn't have to hear the things around you. And I tried to explain that it was a legal concern. And your end words were, well, it's dumb. They should bring it back.
Yes. Yeah. Because hey, if you want to abide by legalities, buy something else. Or don't go outside. Wear these in the house. I don't know. They were my favorite, earbud design, and the company stopped. I actually think they stopped making them because it's cheaper to do it this way, and their sales didn't drop at all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was a bunch of lawsuits around earbuds blocking out too much noise or people
getting hit.
Road.
Yeah.
People getting hit by trains.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that happens regardless.
Okay, so what do you have to show us, Murray?
So I actually have two. Let's see. I have three more subjects, but I'll go through them more quickly because these, the first two were interwoven and much more. And I'll show you after we look at the cost, I'll show you what the products are. The next one is video games because I did think about it before this and going, I play enough of them. I mean, obviously there was some time when I didn't play, like right after I got married for probably a year, I barely played any, and then I had to catch up. But most of the time through my life, I've been playing video games.
Yeah.
Dad had Atari hidden in the closet, found it at 5 years old, uncovered it. What is this thing? And, played video games ever since. And usually that includes getting the latest console each generation, but it doesn't mean I get all the consoles every generation. Although so far that's been the case, except it has been the case, except I think this year this generation I probably won't be getting the Xbox version.
What about the Atari?
I'll come over and look at yours.
I was gonna say I know a guy who's getting one. That's good enough.
When it shows up.
Who's getting one? Maybe.
Yeah.
They built me. They better give it to me.
It'll be easier for me to come look at yours than for me to find one and buy it and wait for it.
They started shipping them to reviewers.
Oh, I kind of want to check that out. Anyway, it's like so PS5 obviously.
Yeah.
I have that. Got it when it released. Nintendo Switch I've had since it released. And these are just the most modern ones. My couple of other latest hardware for video games that I recently got is a yoke and pedal for the Flight Sim 2020, the Microsoft Flight Simulator that came out. And that's kind of a pricey, piece of hardware. A HOTAS system, which is the throttle and stick.
I love having a HOTAS.
For Flight Sim, and it works on the PS4 and PS5.
Oh, cool.
So games like Squadrons can use it.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes that game fun. And so there's and I've got a bunch of controllers, different colors for PS4. PS5 only has one color, but several different controllers for the Switch because they have an SNES and NES, library and things like that. So it's kind of like a gaming, a lot of console gaming, and I have a gaming PC, and it just, it's one of those things that I definitely think is a hobby, where I might pay full price for a console, but I rarely pay full price for a game.
Right.
But so the collection does grow, but it grows maybe slower than people who
buy
every game.
I don't think you're a game collector.
Yeah.
Because you're more likely to sign up for a service that streams the games to you.
I have done that before too.
Rather than
yes.
owning the game itself.
I have done that in the past, and often what I'll do is I'll wait for a sale, or in the case of PC games, use an VPN to get the game cheaper from another country.
Cheaper, huh?
Yeah. And so yeah, I mean it's hard to pay full price. The other reason is this. For many years at my company, we had a relationship with third party at Sony. And so
Mm.
third party titles just showed up on my desk
Yeah.
when they came out. And so when that ended, it was like, oh, what? I don't know if I want to go down and pay full price for a game, even though I could have looked at it the other way and said, since I haven't bought games in so long, I have extra money for it. But it was just hard to do knowing someone is getting them for free. Just not me anymore. So yeah. So anyway, there's gaming. Then 3D printing is one. Another thing that was kind of funded by my company. 3D printer is in my office at work. But learning it and using it when we're not doing product development is something I'll build. You know, I'll design little things and print them out that might be used around the house. Or if I print a little character that you can download off the internet, just because it's cool to have, or a token thing like the Superman key from Man of Steel. Like that's not really a toy that's out there, but you can print one, and it's kind
It's
of
a
neat
choking
to
hazard.
see. Yeah. So 3D printing is another hobby. And then the latest one that I could think of that I do with Michelle, my wife, is Lego building.
Yeah.
Although I grew up
Oh,
with Lego,
yeah.
I didn't really keep doing it as an adult. But I guess she also grew up with Lego, or what they told her was Lego in Indonesia.
Right. The Chinese
whatever,
logo.
yeah, whatever that's
Yeah.
called. And then she found out later they weren't Legos, and she was mad at her parents for calling them Lego. Anyway, she loves the Lego building process, and so we've started doing that with the kits that Lego sells.
It's almost like she enjoys the building part, and you enjoy the creation part.
Yes, she does. Yes, exactly.
Like
She
seeing
loves
what ends up.
She will build so stinking fast. And this is funny that I noticed this early on when I had well, I'll grab it later, but I have a brick book for the MacBook Pro where you can put
Yeah.
little Legos on the top. And I was half done, and I had worked on it probably 2 or 3 times, looking at the design and putting a few bricks on. And she saw it and was like, "Oh, cool. Oh, is this where they go?" And it was like click, 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 and like finished it in one, a few minutes. And I'm like, "Oh man." And her brother complained like, "Oh, playing Lego with Michelle, she's too fast." It's like, yeah, she's a building machine.
She has good spatial understanding.
Yeah.
Like she can look at a picture and know how many bricks back that is, and
Yeah, easily with just looking. And I'm like double and triple checking. Like,
right,
50,
right.
50.
1, 2. It looks like 10.
13 them, Bob. Where was I again? So those were, I think, the larger categories that I kind of came up with for hobby, quote unquote hobby things. And not all of them are monthly.
Yeah.
They're almost more like they pile up around Black Friday when a lot of stuff is on sale. And then I'll spend without reserve, knowing that, especially if it's a sale item, knowing that the rest of the year, even if I'm not going to use this thing for a few months, this is the best price it's going to be in the year, and I will be buying this, at some point, so might as well get it now.
Like a keyboard.
Yeah. So yeah, going through the keyboards, I'm glad I finally asked what you guys use for keyboards to kind of narrow it down. But the one that Rob used was the one I was actually looking at. And it ended up being a good buy. But yeah, so like that's kind of the overall. So I guess I could show off a few of the things that I've got.
It feels a lot like Rob's, where it's not necessarily a monthly expenditure, but you wouldn't go over this much money on that hobby in one spend.
Yeah, and the other thing that I don't generally do is collect without previously using something. So
we know.
If I'm buying a Lego, I rarely will buy the next Lego before that Lego's done. Like I won't buy 4 or 5 and then you say, "Oh, I'll go through it through the year."
Unless
yeah,
they're
me
minifigs.
too. Me too. I always make sure.
Unless they're
things are
minifigs.
built before moving to the next one.
So you're right. The minifigs that are on sale, because they're so inexpensive when they're on sale, I will buy a bunch of them and just not build them until
On
that
sale.
Lego
Don't tell
Saga.
Michelle.
Or come from China, either way. So
Yeah,
I already showed. What's that?
Walking through Fry's and seeing you open boxes, rip the thing out, and seeing where you can go to plug it in to see how it works.
Most of the time they were okay with that, but you know what? They don't even have stuff on their shelves anymore, so do it while you can, kids.
Yeah.
Like the Campbell one's even closed. Like it's
Yeah.
it's just a warehouse now. So I showed the next 6 Sony, some of the lenses. I've got more lenses in that bag. I've got spare. You know, the only thing I've bought over the years are probably adding a lens or 2.
Yeah.
So I probably only have 4 lenses total.
But they can be expensive.
And they, yeah, and I would. The tough part is they rarely go on sale.
Yes.
And they are expensive, and even when they get old, they don't really drop in price that much. You have to find like if you don't want to pay full price, you have to find like an eBay seller that's like, hey, I've got 5 of these and I'm blowing them out and they're $50 less than normal. It's like, okay, that's about kind of what
you really have to buy a collection.
Yeah. So and then the paper, Canon once a year or so does this blowout sale on paper, and you can get 13 by 19, high quality photo paper. You buy like 1 and you get 5 free. It's some crazy kind of like, so I would buy like 1 or 2 of each type of paper and have so much that I still haven't run out since I bought, all that paper from Canon. And the paper stays fresh. As I go through each one, I go to the next one. Paper's, just as good as brand new. So there's paper and the tripod and kind of the baggage and other stuff and additional batteries. And so I think probably for photography, it's not more than $2,000, and that's total: camera, lenses, bags, tripods, printer, because the printers usually have a good sale about once a year too. So if you wait for that, you can get a rebate for almost the full price of the printer. Paper, with that sale, you can get so much paper for free. And so you're talking, a couple grand, which sometimes is the price of a body of a camera. That's what you're going to get. But because this camera was a bundle pack when I got it, and, was new, but still wasn't that expensive. It ended up, all this stuff ends up being, probably around $2,000 total. And that's usable for years. All this hardware can be used for years. I've used this for not only like 2 examples: my sister's college graduation photos, and then her baby photo, newborn baby photos that happened years apart. I had the same camera and same lenses for both projects. And they turned out great. So the nice thing is it doesn't wear out. You have to rebuy it like other technology. Although there's tons of new tech from Sony, and they're doing some incredible stuff with their cameras, and I'm super tempted to buy new stuff.
And there is a shutter limit.
Yes.
On any camera.
Yeah, but until I need it, like I will plan, like that camera is definitely the one I'm going to upgrade to. But I don't need it today, so I'm not going to buy it today. But at some point, if I go, I'm going on this trip and I really need this, nicer camera, or, something's comes up where I really might need it, I would have a plan to buy something new. And this has lasted so long that it certainly wouldn't be that big of a stretch to buy a new set. It would mean new lenses and all that. So it'd probably be about a $4,000 to $5,000 upgrade for body and new lenses to match what I have today. The drone stuff. So this is kind of interesting. Here's my first drone. I actually got this out, and you guys have seen this before. But
was it in a box?
It's in a box that looks like it should be handcuffed to somebody's arm.
Oh, right. It's like a security box. Yeah.
Oh, is that what's in that box?
Yes.
I've peed on that box several times.
And that's the sign that's on the front of the box. And so, I took it out, but here they've got like the controller,
Yeah.
you know, and batteries and extra stuff. Anyway, the drone is this drone here. Let me see if I can pick it up without breaking it. It's an X-wing drone, and this is one of the first drones that kind of was themed out in the market, whereas before, you know, drones basically looked like this without the theme, just a couple of propellers.
That looks so delicate.
It is. Look,
and
there's a chance that you're breaking it right now.
Yes, there is that chance.
It's actually quite ugly compared to what they can do now.
Yeah. And so when you look at the toy, look at this and then look up Airhog's Star Wars, you know, branded toy. It came from this model. And this is a custom board they built. That's the entire drone right there.
It's kind of like Jar Jar Binks made a X-Wing.
And there's glue everywhere on this thing now. I've crashed it so many times. But it is very cool looking. And of course they didn't call it Star Wars at first. They called it, you know,
Star Striker.
Oh yeah, it was like Star Striker.
But that was my first drone. And it was expensive, and the guy was flying it at CES when we had a booth at CES, and it was like, I think it was like $2,000, and I was like, oh man, is there anything you want from our booth that I could trade you to like get the price lower? And he traded like a whole bunch of Blu-ray stuff. I gave him like Blu-ray, you know, a couple of Blu-ray drives, a couple of stacks of Blu-ray discs, some Blu-ray software, burning software, and some other stuff. And like he basically got it down to about, I think it was $1,200 or so. So I mean, I thought that was a pretty good deal, especially because nothing else looked like that or flew like that. And it came with the controllers, probably a $400 or $500 controller on it.
Right.
So you know, and then here's my interim. These look at these little like fold up drones.
Those are cool though.
Yeah. And these, you know, some of them, some that look like this, you can fly with your cell phone, and some they have little controllers, and they just like, they're great for flying around the house. And I have one that's even a little smaller than this that I couldn't find. That one day we were flying it around the house.
One of us ate it,
and it dropped in Sean's rum and Coke that he had in one of my big beer mugs. And so we were like, chug, chug, because, you know, we didn't want the drone to.
Oh, yeah, that's why.
Destroyed. And so he chugged, and the drone didn't ever fly right ever since then. But
great storytelling, Murray.
Yeah. But anyway, I have one more drone I want to show. It's this one over here that I have in my great backpack Marcel got me.
Oh.
I feel like we should have sponsors to put on this backpack. It's this guy
is going on to an hour and a half, so.
So this little drone is a FPV drone that I got, and it's really small too, but it's really fast.
Yeah, it's like a racing drone, right?
Yeah, so these you can, you know, you basically have to get your own controller, and you program this thing up to fly this, and you wear your. I don't know if this is the same headset you guys have, or if there's different ones. Anyway,
it's different.
It's different, but it's probably the same.
Yeah. This is, see the inside. It's one giant screen. It's not like two individual eye things.
Oh, interesting.
And so you can pull the front off and just have the screen sitting there on the table if you want. You know.
So it works really well if you're cross-eyed. There's no.
So this, you know, in terms of hobbies.
That was a joke, Rob.
Building this up, programming this, and you know, flying the little drones, and then finally hearing about the Skydio 2, which I have right here, before it came out, and they showed some demo video, and they didn't even say what drone it was. They just said, here's something coming soon. It was like flying through a warehouse. I was like, I don't know what that is, but I'm buying it when it comes out. It flew so smooth, and they said like, nobody's controlling it. It's just on a track, and it was incredible. So I got one, and it really lives up to its name. They've been back ordered the entire time they've been in production, which is I think a little over a year.
Skydio 2?
What's that?
It lives up to Skydio 2?
Yes. But it lives up to, so they had a Skydio 1, and the Skydio 1 had 0 controller, and they had no way to actually fly it from your phone. It was 100% autonomous, and it was really expensive, and it used all these expensive sensors that were, really high cost. And so you couldn't ever fly it yourself. What you did was you looked at your phone, saw a person you wanted to track, click that person, and let the drone do its thing.
A government drone.
It would dodge trees and follow you and all that stuff. And it was like, oh, that's cool, but I want to fly a drone. I want to look out.
I think something's following me.
Yes, it can do that because it knows which way you're facing. It will stay behind you, in front of you, or to your side. So they took all that tech that they built, down cost it to using high quality cameras instead of sensors, and put like 6 4K sensors on this thing, plus the 4K 60 HDR video camera that's on the front, and said, okay, now we can see everything all around us, all the bubble. We can let it fly itself, or we can let you fly it. And, here's a controller. You can control it with your phone, a beacon, or an actual dual stick controller. And it ends up being like a great drone that gets some of the best quality video that I've ever seen out of, a drone. Like, it's HDR right out of the camera. There's no editing. After you pull it out onto your iPad or iPhone, you can just trim it up, throw some music to it, and put it online, and it's like an HDR 4K 60 FPS video. It's incredible. It was also the first time I ever had to edit 4K 60, and I found out my computer couldn't do it at the time, and my Mac couldn't do it at the time, and I actually had to edit on my iPad Pro. It was the only thing that could edit 4K 60 HDR, and I was like, okay, maybe my computers are getting old. That was before this gaming PC, so I know it can do it now on here, but I couldn't do it before. So anyway, there's that, and then there's the the accessories for all this stuff. There's the extra batteries, controller, and I'm thinking about getting an extra bag that can hold everything all in one. Right now, I throw it on my backpack, and it's in the the case that it came in, but that just gets thrown into my backpack, and they have kind of a metal case like this one over here that has inserts for everything. I'm kind of thinking of going that route, even though it's a little pricey.
It's interesting that like drone flying is kind of limited to some degree because the time in air. Like, you can't go out for like 8 hours and just fly. But your other hobby, gaming, is the opposite. It's very time open, but very time intensive.
Yeah, I'm used to all the RC stuff that I do. It kind of goes back to if you've ever gone out and launched some rockets, which I know we have. You launch a there's a lot of prep for it. You set it all up and you launch it, and it's really fun for about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
As the burns, or as you hit the thing and it shoots up, and then you see the parachute pop, and then you figure out where it's going to land, and then the rest of it is just running around finding it and setting it all back up again.
Really, the fun part.
No, the real fun part is when it tips over, points at you.
Out of the way.
That's the real adrenaline right there.
Actually, I have this one. So I have one more product in drones that I wanted to show you. This is one of those products that Marcel might facepalm over, but it is very cool. It's a drone that's a ball.
Oh.
And this thing, like, what's neat about it is it floats. Like it
Yeah.
actually. Whoa!
As
All right,
seen on TV at this point in time.
Is it as seen on TV?
Yeah.
Anyway, it floats, and you can throw it. Let me see if I can do it here, and it will like come back to you because.
Oh, I know. The 3-year-old that was doing it on the TV did the same show and tell.
But it's
Murray.
incredible because this is one of those things that like it really does look like it's from the future when you're playing with it in the house or throwing it to each other. It's a ball that like floats and can go up to the ceiling and kind of float back down or like boomerang around and come back to you. It looks a little bit like the probe droid from Star Wars.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't want this thing to probe you. But it's just a cool, like it's actually a drone that's, that flies itself, and depending on how you throw it, and it probably and it falls on the ground all the time, and it falls behind stuff in the house, and it and then auto shuts off, and it has some intelligence in there to be usable. But
That's how I feel.
it's a neat device that is
Yeah.
not worth almost anything to anybody, but for someone who flies RC drones and kind of understands the technology behind what had to go into building this thing, it was so cool. Like I had to get it. I think it was like $35 or something.
Yeah, I think with drones, they're using the same sensors that you can buy over the counter and all that kind of thing, but they're getting cleverer in how they hook them together and use their abilities and how a human interacts with that.
Yep.
And I think that's what with the Sky units and little toys like that, that's what actually makes you kind of, or anyone really, feel like this is so special, right? Like it's doing stuff I've never seen done before.
Yeah. And it's like, some stuff you've seen evolve over time, and other stuff just comes out and it's like, well, I've never seen something do that. Like a Skydio 2 that can fly itself is an evolution of regular drones.
Mm-hmm.
But like a ball that floats and that you can throw it at each other and that it can boomerang back is like, this feels a little bit magical almost, even though it's hardly any money to buy. It's like there's something unique about it that's kind of fun.
Sure.
Anyway, all the drone stuff that I have looked up or that I pulled out here probably is around $2,000 also in total. Looking at, oh no, I'm sorry,
3, 4.
it was, let's see, because I didn't put this drone on there, that's why it was like 3,500. I forgot the X-Wing drone. So yeah, it's like 3,500 or so, and that's over the course of many years.
Yeah.
Not 3,500 a year. It's like 3,500 ever.
Yeah.
Over all the little drones, the ball drone, the Skydio, and the first drone I ever bought. So it's not bad when you think about in terms of just, it's like you get a lot of enjoyment for that kind of for that money. Surprisingly affordable, and that's only because I didn't go out and buy every new drone that came out. Most drones that came out that had fancy features were easily 1,500, 1,800, even 2,000. This Skydio came out at $999, just undercutting DJI, what they were doing, and it could do some stuff better. And it was like, that's where I decided to jump and go, okay, I can tell this is going to be a good product
Investment.
for the price for sure.
ROI.
Yeah. So there's, that's probably about 3,500 or so. And make a note of that. And then of course, all the video game hardware stuff is hard to say because it's over multi-generation, but just the generations that I own now, Xbox, whatever this is,
One.
Xbox One, yes, PS5, PS4, Switch,
right,
and Switch with the SNES and NES controllers. And then I got this because of nostalgia.
Yes,
the Duke.
know.
And this is for PC, a USB port. I think you can use this on some consoles too, but I mainly use it for PC. It actually boots up the Xbox logo in this bubble when you.
Is that
first plug
is
it
that
in.
the Xbox controller that everyone hated?
Yeah, this is the one that the original Xbox came out with, and
Now he's gonna plug it in to show.
yeah, see if I look. There you go, and that's how the Xbox
Wow.
looked. When
Yeah,
it
I
first booted
remember.
up, right?
Yeah.
That was a waste of money.
Okay, you know why I don't think it was? Because I actually liked the original Duke controller.
So did I.
It's huge,
So did I.
but it feels really good. But it didn't do well in Japan for Microsoft, and so they had to build these teeny little controllers. They were even smaller than this, I think.
How often do you use your controller on your Windows machine?
Believe it or not, I've switched to this one. This is actually right now.
But seriously, the Xbox 360 controller is probably one of the best controllers ever made.
Yeah.
And you can see it in the PS5 controller because they've come very close to recreating it.
As someone who disliked my Xbox 360 and maybe spent 10 hours on it in its whole life cycle.
Right.
Like,
wow.
I slept outside of a Circuit City to buy an Xbox 360. So like I had high expectation and then just never used it. Like
wow.
It just
that's kind of my story for the Wii a little bit.
I think that's everyone's story for the Wii.
But I'm not pulling out the Wii for this one.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Let's use the under-counter camera for that.
Yeah. But yeah, the Xbox 360 controller, like best thing to come out of the Xbox 360.
It's really a great feeling controller. And I did use the Duke for a while. And then I went back to this one and I was like, yeah, it feels just, easier to grab and play. But I love the feeling of the Duke. Like there's some games that just feel better with the bigger controller. But first person, FPS games or those, it's not really those kind of games. Maybe more like third person feels better with the Duke.
Or you just have to walk forward and push A.
Yeah. I mean, I just have those two. Mainly, I use my keyboard and mouse. They're both Logitech devices that I use for gaming on the computer. And then I've just got tons of these PS4 controllers, probably about 8, for just because they're different colors and they look nice. And I'm probably gonna have to start doing that with PS5 when they start coming out with different colors too. So that is something I collect, and I'll swap them out as they need charging. But I will use different colors when I play the console. So it's like PS5, Nintendo Switch are the current ones that are hooked up. Xbox One is hooked up. I have my HOTAS system, and until December of 2020, I really didn't pay my own, money for a lot of these games. They still did come through my company in different ways. So I didn't mind, in certain ways, games coming out and paying for them. But since then, I have bought a few games that were on sale. So I haven't paid a ton in games over the past couple of years. But I'd say this is between a $1,500 and $2,000 hobby just in the past few years. It's not ever, and I don't know what it would be, ever. But as I buy each Nintendo console that comes out, an Xbox console that comes out, and every Sony version, including the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, and then now, of course, the PS5, I'm kind of cutting it off and looking at the costs for what I have hooked up right now.
Yeah.
The usable devices, the ones that I'm going to keep using. And I have a Wii that I should probably sell or something.
They're really hot
I don't know what to do with mine. Like
they're
Wii U.
really hot right now. People are collecting older game systems and older games, and they're selling for 3 times more than they should.
Oh, I should
so
look
like
at
$60
eBay.
instead of
No, like $180.
I'm surprised by that, but yeah. So I could dig that out easily enough, and I've got that Wii scale thing that always made me sad. I've got one of those.
It made the Wii sad too.
They were like, "Please stop using us." Anyway, so
wow,
so yeah,
people are paying way too much for these. Anyways, yes.
Is that right? So I think like, I'd say 2000 is probably a safe bet for the modern stuff that I have, which is last gen and this gen and a few extra controllers and some stuff for the PC too. It's not a ton. So that might be in the last whenever the Switch came out until now, pretty much.
2 years. 3 years.
Yeah. The Xbox One was almost free when I got it. I mean, it was like Microsoft had so many rebates. It was like, buy this, send us your Xbox 360. We'll give you back, half off this plus 3 games plus this. And it was like, ended up being like way less than $200.
Yeah, the X is going to be the same way.
Yeah, so that's the console I'm not looking to buy because there aren't any exclusives that aren't available on PC. Everything that's coming out for Series X is on PC in some way. Sometimes it's the Microsoft, whatever they call that, the
store.
Yeah, the Xbox app or whatever. But it's a PC game.
Yeah.
You can run it at full 4K, 60 HDR if your computer can do it. And with RTX if you have that hardware, non-RTX if you don't. Whereas, so I don't need really to buy the Xbox. I don't think with the RTX system that I have right now. And no exclusives. And then 3D printing was the next hobby I had. Again, like I mentioned, this is a company buy, but I do get to play with it and use it because it's my printer. I didn't have anything at the house really to show. This is one thing I printed and sort of added my own design to. So what this is, I'll put my Apple Watch on here. It's an Apple Watch and AirPods stand.
Oh, I thought it was a Bulbasaur.
I have a Bulbasaur that I 3D printed. He's right here. I play with him on the desk all the time.
And this was kind of an interesting print. And what you do is you slide up your Apple Watch charger into this area here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
You have your lightning connector come through here, and it rests in a way where you just pop that on and they start charging, put this Apple Watch on, and it grips on with the magnet. And I designed the bottom because it was just a 3D print, and then it ended here where this lip is.
Okay.
And it was really loose. These prints are super light. Like they're not.
Oh yeah, they don't weigh anything.
Right. Inside it's like a honeycomb, very light. Yeah. It's not solid. And so if you have that on your desk, it like slides right off with the cables pulling on it. And I thought, well, I don't want to tape it down either. So I built this bottom shelf and put holes in it that I saw from another design that someone did that were the size of a penny, and you can stack a bunch of pennies inside those holes.
Oh,
and
cool.
then that puts a nice weight to it. And then you just 3D print some, screws
holes,
certain size that you need, and then you just go down and screw them in. And so if you can hear it.
I can hear, I could hear the pennies.
Yeah, they're in there, and it really keeps it on the desk really well. So that's an example of something I 3D printed. All my
that costs you like 20 cents, whatever the pennies cost.
Yeah, it's mostly pennies.
One day when pennies are super valuable, you'll have a small nest egg there.
I have my I have my chess piece that I 3D
Oh, nice.
printed,
You're starting to print the black ones now?
Yeah, well, actually what's funny, this is the first one I ever did. And then I started like doing the white ones just to see, and then it just kind of I have them all now. I'll probably start printing all the black ones tomorrow.
Yeah, so
how long did that print take, Murray? I'm curious.
I don't remember, but I think it was about 5 to 8 hours.
Yeah, okay. Sounds about right.
Something like that. And the only part I had to tear out was, this hole.
Yeah.
Something inside there. I forget what. But you get pliers and you can pull out
easily.
The supports. So that's one example. The rest of my little figures and stuff are all at my office on my desk. That's basically free. It's all company paid. If you want to know the cost though, the printer was about $600. It was a FlashForge Pro dual nozzle extruder, so you can print 2 colors at the same time,
cool.
Or 2 different kinds of filament. One for supports that wash away with Lyman acid or whatever they call that,
or a gun.
But yeah, all in all, and the filament's really cheap too. It's like $30 a roll or $40 a roll. All in all, I think it's like $700 all in for all the prints I've ever done. plus all the hardware.
Yeah, and it's surprising this my current 3D printer is my third 3D printer. I'm always surprised at people will look at the material cost and be like, oh my gosh, like every bundle of material you buy or every thing of resin is like $40-$50. But gosh, like it lasts you
You can
forever.
print a ton with all that.
Oh
junk.
yeah, like every print, this maybe cost me, 50 cents, like
fill it
in
with pennies
material.
and then see how much.
Yeah, and then it's 55 cents.
Yeah.
But yeah, that always surprises me about 3D printing is like the material cost is nothing when you really think about it. As long as you're using it.
I really do enjoy 3D printing. I wish, that's the one thing I would go into the office probably for if we were allowed to, is to still 3D print some stuff. Because it is a lot of fun, and I've thought about maybe buying one for my home, and I still might. But it is a lot of fun. The last hobby that is new to COVID, which my wife and I started about when COVID started, is Lego, and I've got like an example here of like the Wall-E.
Oh, the Wall-E Lego, he's super cool.
So we have two different kinds of Lego sets. We have the kind that comes from China when you can't find the kit, and the kind that comes from Lego when you can find the kit. The Wall-E is actually a China build, although it is great and has had all the pieces and everything. It even, I think this opens, just
My
like
Chinese Wall-E had a very loose head.
You put
It seems like yours might have the same.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah, we he basically just sits there. But yeah, I remember reading something about that where there was you could order the ball joint from Lego, I think.
Yeah,
it was, and it would fix that. Anyway, it's fine. It sits on our.
Yeah, it's like a tenth of the cost of Lego.
Right. What was it, like 30 or 40 bucks?
Yeah,
I don't remember. Anyway, this one's costly. This was Voltron.
Oh heck
Lego.
yeah!
Oh, and his little star thing came up. Anyway, and he has all the cats. The arms and the legs can actually be pulled off. Well, they were pulled off before, and they were the cats on the table. And then you transform them all and stick them all together, and they connect and they become Voltron. And
you just described both that Lego set and the concept behind Voltron.
Yes, it really works, just like the Voltron.
That's really impressive, actually. That's pretty cool.
So this is also on our dining table, and we really like this kind of being the centerpiece there because it's so huge. I mean, this thing is huge.
Yeah, it's massive.
It's a little bit like a Lego Gundam, I guess.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so we've built those two, and then we also have, which I didn't bring over here because I didn't have enough room, the 1989 Batmobile that came out.
Nice.
Or mid whatever it was, early 2020.
Yeah, I have it back there.
Teased. You have it back there.
Yeah.
Very cool. I was tempted to look into the Chinese model when it came out because it was like, I don't know if we can get one of those, this and that. And then I think Michelle found it and she was like, oh, we can get one. So she ended up getting it. And it's a very cool model. It's huge. It's like this big. And the cockpit opens and closes and the gun things come out the front. And it's also my favorite Batmobile design, by the way. So those are the three big ones that we have. And I'm already getting text messages about the next builds, which include bouquets of flowers, Disney castles, and
isn't these are all the ones we talked about earlier of being super hard to find?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm getting texts about those are the ones that are next on the list. Anyway, it's a newer hobby. We really enjoy it. We all watch TV when we're building this. We're not like sitting around a dining table like a puzzle. We're like enjoying TV or movie or something and building it over the course of several nights. So it's kind of neat. Voltron, I think, was $275 or something like that. I think the Batmobile was about the same. They're about $250 to $300 each. The Wally was really cheap, like 30, because it was Chinese. It's not real Lego, but it was built just fine. And it you know, and it looks really good in person. So the cost is really nominal compared to the fun and hours it takes to do it. And like I said, with these models, we basically will buy it and build it and finish it before we look at the next one to build. So it is kind of fun. It's something you can look forward to doing when you're done is getting another one lined up. The question now is where to put them after the dining table area starts to get full. Where do you kind of have to rearrange a room or a space in your house? Marcel's like, duh, yes, I know. So yeah, so we're kind of thinking about that right now. Like, what happens if we actually get, the Tatooine set or a castle or something? Where's that going to go?
Yeah,
replace the TV.
Goes in the loft. Goes in the loft.
Actually, yeah, that is an area that would be
second
right
bedroom.
up there on that ledge behind you.
So this is the loft, like you guys know, and I do have some Lego stuff up there already. The little figurines.
I've never been up there.
Oh, I must have just pointed it out to you.
It's well, I've also never had a reason to go up there.
Yeah.
I usually walk in, I see the couch, and I'm like, this is where I belong.
Plus, there's usually downstairs.
There is a bathroom down there.
So I don't know total all in, like what this real all is, but it's, under, what would that be? Under 10 grand maybe.
Yeah, but that's over like 20 years.
It is. Yeah. It's not like it's not like per year.
Yeah.
And these things keep me busy. I think the things that aren't listed that you've also listed previously are anime, cartoon watching, certain movies. Like I love 4K HDR movies, even if they're not great movies. If they're that quality on this sound system and TV on OLED, I really love watching them. Anime, I still keep up with. All those things, I don't know how much it costs, not a ton, but I would say I would list those nowadays, now that you mentioned it as well.
Yeah. Well, we're out of time.
Oh, good.
We spoke for an hour.
What about Marcel's hobbies that he's sitting all around?
Oh, well, I mean, we can do it again. Marcel's hobbies might be a whole video.
No, my hobbies are really simple because I only have one hobby at any given time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Many years ago, it was arcade machines.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I built one
cool.
while out of work. I built one in my living room
with power tools
from scratch, much to my wife's chagrin. And she swore that I would never build another arcade machine after that. Then after that, I was trading cards. I collected comic cards. I think I ended up with about 30,000 comic cards, all different types. And then I sold those. Then it was camera and video stuff. Still have a lot of camera stuff. So I sold the video stuff. That was about $4,000 worth of stuff. I still have about $20,000 worth of camera stuff.
Oof.
That's like 6 bodies, 30 lenses.
Wow, good amount.
And then after that, I did Legos for a while. Built the Millennium Falcon, the $800 Millennium Falcon.
Oh
yeah,
my
goodness.
Built Voltron, built a lot of these different things, and then gave them all away to a kid that I know. And
did
then
you take them apart?
I
Who knows
threw
what
them
he
really
did.
aggressively in a box. So, Shalisha, my wife, has carried on with Legos. So she has every Lego creator set pretty much made. So her office has about 30 sets in it now.
That's amazing. I
That's
can't wait to
awesome.
see him again.
And then
Yeah, I think Michelle wants to talk to Shasha a little bit more.
we get on Saturday. We get
Lego
the police
setup.
station on Saturday.
Oh, that'll be sweet.
So
cool.
I don't stand in line anymore for consoles, but I stay up past midnight hitting the purchase button for Legos for my wife.
Priorities.
And then after Legos was comics. So I had 0 comics in April last year.
Wow.
So
0?
8 months ago, I had
I've
0
never had
comics.
0. I think I grew up. I was born with comics.
Came out with them.
I now have 41,856 comics.
Is that the unique number?
That's the unique number. I have another about 20,000 at this point that are duplicates.
Nice.
My most valuable comic. So what I'm trying to do is, so Rob and I kind of talked about it a while back before COVID happened. Fortunately, COVID happened very shortly after we talked about it, because otherwise we'd have a comic store that no one can visit right now.
Right.
We talked about getting a comic store, and so that's what kind of started this whole collection. But what I'm thinking about now is a comic museum.
Be cool.
Of all these comics. So I'm collecting every comic ever made from 1930 to now. My most valuable comic is $78,000. It's the first appearance of Red Hood. And my least valuable comic is a New Kids on the Block comic, which goes for about 5 cents.
I want to see both of those.
So, how much do I spend? Okay. So I don't need any other hobbies, right? I have a gaming PC, but I never play a game. I gave my consoles away. I don't have any other hobbies. I collect some action figures, as you see behind me.
There's quite a bit nowadays.
Yes. So action figures, I probably spend around $200 a month on action figures.
Is that planned ahead of time, or is that
No.
end up what it
just
is?
Spur of the moment?
Okay.
Like, oh, this one looks cool. Pick it up. Monthly comics. So these are new comics that companies have released. Cost me around $500 a month.
Whoa. And so are you buying every comic somehow that gets released by a publisher, or are you picking like
I'm picking the ones that the ones that will become rare in the future. So ones that I don't expect will end up on a dollar pile, I'm buying those. So it's about 45 to 50 different comics, unique comics. Wow. Then I source back issues. So issues before today's set of issues. I source from different comic shops and all that kind of thing. Before I was doing blind boxes from comic shops where they'd ship me 1,000 comics and I would filter through them and put the ones I need. But I'm finding that I have too many of those now in my collection. Yeah.
You'll have most of their blind box already.
Yeah. So now I buy comics on Instagram. The problem is that the blind box from comic shops are kind of living, if they're good to their customers, they're kind of living 2 years in the past, where a dollar comic costs $1. What bastard comic shops are doing now is they'll take that dollar comic and they go, oh, there's a rumor that a movie is coming out and it might have this side character in it that's in this comic. So that's a $4 comic now.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
So Instagram kind of falls between the two, but I went a little crazy. So the month of December, I spent about $7,000 on Instagram. And then another $2,000 on other means and other things.
And is the reason for that because they're like perfect storm?
Yeah. So December is a really bad month for these kind of sales on Instagram. They're called claim sales. They happen with Pokemon cards. They happen with Yu-Gi-Oh cards and comics. And that is that people have spent too much money on Christmas, and so they're really looking to reclaim some of it, and so they're willing to sell it parts of their collections.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's why, yeah. So it's almost like a Black Friday situation where it's like, this is the time of year where the bulk of the purchase is going to happen.
But without the really good prices, because they are undercutting the comic book shop, but they're not undercutting the true value of the comic.
I see.
So anyhow, I think it averages out to a monthly cost of about $2,000. If I take December out of the mix.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very understanding wife. But yeah, it's not. I think I'm gonna hit a wall pretty soon for space. So in this room there, and then these cabinets here, or these bookshelves here, it's about 30,000 comics. And then in the room next door, I have, and in the garage, I have another 20,000 comics. And in the garage, I have another 20,000 on top of that. That's the extras. So I'm going to hit a space problem soon. I'm also going to hit a problem where every comic I need is an expensive comic.
Yep.
So
is that Red Hood one Detective Comics 168?
Yeah.
Okay, I was Googling it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I think the earliest action comic I have is 320, which is from 1965. And I have a lot from 320 on, like 320, 322, 323, 323, blah, 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 blah. But getting comics from 320 back is very expensive. You're looking at $40, $50 a comic. And so either I have to go one of two routes. I have to find a sponsor who's like, oh, I believe in your cause. I will help you purchase these things as an investment for myself, and then you can store them. Or I have to start buying out very old collections and hoping that they have these older comics in them. So yeah, that's it. We went from like back 10 years ago, there was like 100 key issues of comics. Like this key guy showed up, and then that made a huge difference. Now we have thousands. And it's like the first appearance of Red Hood should not be a key. But it is, because it's not even the same Red Hood that we have today. It's a different Red Hood.
It's a different dude.
Yeah. So anyhow, it's a complicated
He's wearing
hobby.
a tux.
Yes, he is.
He's wearing like a tux and with like a
red dome on,
like a red hood.
It's almost more like, what if you had a ski mask but you didn't cut out the holes
and you made it out of some shiny metal?
Yeah,
that was red.
He could have been called the Red Dome.
Yeah, he probably was called that at first.
Or the Red Mysterio.
How did you come across that comic, by the way?
It was in a collection. So I have my drug dealer that I went to visit him today.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I hand him money and he hands me a bag. And now I pull up to him in my car and he just sticks it in the window.
And a drone flies down and drops off.
And then so I'll go over there. He hands me a bag and I'll pull this out. This is 117 Thor.
Let's say 12 cents.
12 cents. It's a Silver Age. And then I'm like, oh, that was cool. What is this one? And this is number 6, Hawkman.
Oh, whoa. And Hawk Gorilla.
So, Phantom. No one cares about the Phantom. And this is.
But he's the one that
how do you spell Superman?
Oh, with two N's.
Wow. When he's getting
Maybe-
electrocuted, it's Superman.
So it's Ukrainian.
Are
Oh,
you serious?
And then we
That's
have
awesome.
Murray's like, I love Superman and the Ukraine.
Avengers number 41.
Great
Right.
vodka.
Wow, that's an interesting. I mean,
So it just keeps going, like Thor 268.
It can be very exciting pulling some of those rare or older.
Yeah. And I like the mystery of it. Like I prefer getting a bag. I don't know what the heck it is. And I know the guy well enough that he's given me a fair price. Like he needs to make some money. I need to feel good about it. And then pulling out and going, whoa, these are cool. I don't have these. But I now have a database because I can't remember what all I have.
Yeah.
On the Instagram sales, you often end up in a chase because the first person that types claim on a post gets to keep the comic, and you don't have time to kind of go, do I have that one? Yeah, no. So sometimes you're like just going and you get a bunch of comics that you have already. So I mean, it's interesting. I haven't figured out how to sell comics really well yet.
Well, the first part is, I think, having some collections, because what if you find out selling comics, is easier once you have 2 or 3 full collections, and now you're set to start a business if that's what it ends up being.
It is so rare to find anyone with complete runs. I have complete runs. I have 70 complete runs. My most impressive is X-Men. I have the whole X-Men from 1 to 207.
Oh, wow.
But it's very rare. So comic people are really used to buying onesie twosies. I have enough to sell. I mean, 20,000 comics is certainly enough to sell.
Sure.
People describe themselves on eBay as having a large collection if they have 100 comics.
Yes.
But it's finding the right market for those comics. So, that's my hobby.
And can you take your database, the ones that you don't have, and submit it, to these guys on Instagram, whatever, and they'll tell you if they have?
They won't do that.
Okay.
Like, because I'm collecting every single issue. Let me see. Lone Ranger Missing Comics. It's like it's in a PDF format, and I think it's 180 pages long. And it starts with like Action Comics #1, right? Right.
And they're just like, nope. Yes, $6,000. Nope.
Right. There's definitely some easy wins here that I just need to sit down and find the comics. I have the run. I just need to find one comic to finish the run.
And you can't get them, I guess, from like DC or Marvel. Like,
no,
there's no way to get.
DC and Marvel have been reprinting and calling them facsimiles or true believers, depending on which company it is.
Interesting.
And they're only $1. But they're not the original print.
Yeah.
It's been
it wouldn't be
touched
something
up
you could put.
and
You couldn't put that in your collection.
So I do have them, and I do collect them. But
that the reprint DC did on the first famous Superman comic where he's smashing the car.
1988 was when that comic came out. The facsimile, the reprints. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I ended up with that. And just because it was like, I know it's not worth anything because it's a reprint, but it's awesome to have and be able to thumb through what that original comic was. And I actually took a picture of the original comic at Warner Brothers Studios. They have it behind a glass case, and it doesn't even look in great condition, but they have one, a full, all the pages are there. And I took some pictures of it. It was kind of neat to see in person.
So if your reprint is in perfect condition and you get it graded, you're looking at $150.
Wow.
If you sell the raw comic, so ungraded, you're looking at probably about $15 to $30.
Okay,
And part of
that's even higher than I thought it would be. I figured
Yeah.
it was it was probably like a $2 or $3 comic or something, and I figured it would be $5 now.
part of it is that you can't. The average person, that is the closest you'll get to the original for the average person.
And that's why I got it, because it was just neat, like neat
Yeah.
to have.
Like let me see if I can describe this correctly. A 0.5 Action Comics #1. No, it's Amazing Spider-Man #1. First appearance of Spider-Man. If its cover has separated, it's a $40,000 comic.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, there are plenty of people that have horrible looking versions of these comics in their collections, and it is an absolute joy to see their collections because of it.
Wow.
So there's a first printing and a second printing of that 88, and that'll make a difference depending on which one you have. So what happens is comics will print really small runs if they're not sure that people want it, like 30,000 issues. And then when there's a lot of demand for it, then they'll print 200,000 issues in a second run. Now they give it a different cover, but back then it was the same, so you kind of have to look at the inside of the cover to know.
The first time I remember that situation happening was probably around the year 2000, 2001, when they did the Wolverine Origins series. And I had a subscription at the time to the local comic shop. I lived in Santa Rosa and went down there, and I got the Origins comic #1. And then the next week when I went, or the next, whenever it came out, #2, #1s you couldn't find anywhere. They weren't available in the stores. They weren't, it just because I had that, that subscription, I was able to get it. Well, by the time the series was over and I had all of them, #1 was all you could find everywhere. It was like everyone had the #1 version of that comic. And I was like, oh, so I guess there's nothing special. At first I thought, oh, neat. I've got a #1 of something that might be cool someday. And then that was like all you could find in the comic shop was the #1.
Yeah, and you will see now there's a big division in price between a first printing and a second printing.
I didn't even think about that though at the time. I just thought, oh, okay, they're printing more of them. It's within, the year or something. Like it's not going to be worth anything different. Maybe it is.
So it's the death of Superman's fault. Death of Superman happened. They printed 3 million copies of every comic you could possibly find. And then Marvel did the same thing, and they oversaturated the market in the 90s. 94 to be particular. And then suddenly people, and they almost killed the entire industry. Then in 2000, they were trying to rebuild the industry. So they started making very small runs, especially of new titles like Origins. And even the second runs were still small. And now they kind of have balanced it out. But what they're doing is unique covers for each one so that each one is collectible. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Well, guys, we stretched this out to 2 hours.
No, it's whatever they call that big comic version, the giant print edition.
Giant issue.
The chonky version.
That could be every one of our episodes, though.
Chonky comics.
Is that racist?
Yeah.
If someone wants it to be, sure.
I will cut out 90% of Murray's hobby stuff, and then we will be down to 45 minutes.
There we go.
I'm kidding. I'm just going to post it up like it is because it takes way too much work to edit these things.
That's right.
I will talk to you guys some other time, and if you want to invest in my comic library, I'm taking investments of $100,000 and up.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
You get the rights to 3 comics in the collection for that much.
And a donut.
And a donut.
Does that include that New Kids on the Block comic?
Yes.
Okay,
I
cool.
have
Just
about
making sure.
40 New Kids on the Block comics.
Oh,
Actually, that's an
sweet.
exaggeration. I have 32. 32.
Okay, cool. Glad we cleared that up.
Yeah. They made like 15 or 16 different series of New Kids on the Block. Yeah.
Too many.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a
All
good
right.
Saturday.
It's fun, guys.
You too. Thanks, you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.